Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Cannabis Legalization News. We had some huge news that happened last week, and a deadline for rescheduling actually expired on June 20th. And so we have a story out of that. Our lead story has to do with state attorney generals and former DEA leaders are asking that the agency allows them to have a public hearing. Will or will that not happen? We're going to kind of discuss a little bit of that. And then we have a lot of news from all over the states. We also have a guest that will be on reporting live from Washington, D.C. So you are going to want to stick around until after it's 4:20 somewhere. And now let's get the show going and bring on our co-host, Miggy.
We're back. Here I am.
Oh, there you are.
Here I am.
Slight little interlude there with the Wi-Fi. It does happen, but yeah, hey, if you are here and joining us, thank you so much, especially if you're one of our members. We really do appreciate it, and don't forget to subscribe for more information on cannabis legalization. The state attorney generals and former DEA leaders, I think I actually have a copy of the regulations.gov public comment that they've filed. That we can begin to share, or we can go over this for right now, and then we'll discuss it more. But these aren't necessarily, let's see who signed all this, former DEA administrators, like going back to 1976. So DEA administrators from 1976 through all the way up to 2021. It's pretty interesting. And so Honorable Peter Ben Singer from 76 to 81, and then everybody all the way through Honorable Timothy Shea, who was the DEA acting administrator from 2020 to 2021, all signed on to this letter requesting a hearing.
Doesn't seem to me too, though, the also with that is this the one that was also South Carolina AG? A lot of R's that sign on to this, right?
There's a couple, and so there were several that came in before the deadline, which I believe was June the 20th, and so this one is listed as June 19th. Let me go share this screen if I can. I can't. I have to share this tab because I'm going to try to give you guys some information audio later. But this is a copy of the public comment. The public comment period is still open for about another month, July 22nd. We just did an email blast to the people in our email list on our public comment, and I did a video on it. But this is them requesting a hearing on the proposed rulemaking, and that deadline expired this week. And so one of the deadlines in the rulemaking process for Schedule 3 marijuana is gone, and this one is the request that they're saying. Third, it is important to assess how this major change in drug policy could impact the ongoing and devastating drug abuse crisis facing this country. As the 2024 National Drug Threat Analysis highlighted, the United States is battling the deadliest drug threat it has ever faced that is fueled by fentanyl. I love how they continue to conflate the opioid epidemic with the cannabis plant, which makes no sense. But then signing on, it's sincerely the Honorable, and it starts with Peter, and he was a DEA administrator from 1976 to 1981. He's probably the only one that's still alive. And they just went back until then, and then they just have all of them. There's Asa Hutchinson, there's Karen Tandy, Michelle Lionheart, Robert Patterson, Timothy Shea, all the way through. Everybody except for the current one, Ann Milgram, did not. But all of the people that came before Ann Milgram, they did.
Okay, so it's, I was gonna say, it just seems to me like fear mongering, where it's like, hey, we want this hearing to show you how bad it is, right? We want this hearing to, to pull out families who blame their kids' suicide on cannabis, right? Their use on dabs or whatever. So I mean, I'm for it though. I say bring a hearing. We can talk about the wellness aspect of it, the people hurt by the law. There's many aspects you can attack this situation when it comes to like a hearing, if you want to present good evidence, right? Like
perhaps there's a video that I want to share. We may get a copyright strike on it, but this channel has got how many subscribers? Like 105. So the only thing that'll really happen is like the Zuanic and Associates will get a lot more subscribers. But they had a Kelly Fair on, and she is a partner at Denton's, and Denton's is like a AmLaw 50 law firm. So it probably has like, it's like DLA Piper. Oh,
I don't.
okay.
You're talking about like right now. You're talking about 136 people above their heads, right? Like I don't know who this
Right.
legal area
Okay.
you're
And
talking
so
about.
like Denton's or like DLA Piper or these are huge law firms that have
Okay.
like 4,000 lawyers in them. They're extremely powerful. They're some of the top
Yeah.
50 in size law firms in the world.
Okay.
And she is a partner over there at the Cannabis Healthcare Practice, and she is going to provide us with a little bit of backstory regarding what you need to do to be able to get one of these hearings. And so let me
Okay.
go ahead and share this tab because that should also share the audio, and I'm going to hit play on it.
Here in 10 days, we will have your opportunity to request a hearing will have to be in. And thereafter, the director of the DEA will decide who is granted a hearing. And to qualify or to have standing to have a hearing, you must state with particularity that you are an interested person. An interested person means that you are adversely impacted by the proposed rule in some way. And you must state that with particularity. And you also must state with particularity the issue of law or fact that you think merits a hearing by an administrative law judge. So.
All right. And
Yeah.
let me try to take that out. Will, get us out of there, take that out of the screen and put us back up there. So now, how does that square the circle as to what they actually wrote? And going over, I want to share this tab now. I'm going to have to just reshare my whole screen because like now I want to go to the actual public comment, and then we can use that aspect of what it means to have standing to go through it to determine whether or not they should even have a hearing about it. Because what is the injury in fact to law enforcement? They can't arrest you anymore. That's not an injury. Like you are injuring the person you're arresting. That is impacting their lives. We're going to have a guest on later on after 420 somewhere. He has an injury in fact. And so like, if you are like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my prosecutorial discretion. That's not an injury, but then
Right. The police they can't arrest you. But
oh no, they can't arrest you. Like
you said it right though, how in that letter, how it's like they mentioned fentanyl, right? A lot of this like is inflated, gaslighting. This situation is worse than what it is.
Right.
But who is it harming? How has this plant hurt you? Do you still have that doll in your office?
Not in this one. It's in my house. But like, the hearing would enhance the DEA's evaluation of the important sociological and scientific issues at stake. Yeah. And so like, how is that a hearing in fact? Where's your injury? And then third, all right, conflating with fentanyl. And first, changing marijuana is consequential rulemaking the DEA has ever attempted. Yes, that's right. It is history. Good.
What? Yeah.
It is undeniable that it will, the federal and international treaty obligations, most significant relaxation of narcotics restrictions in the history of the CSA. Does that include OxyContin? Because OxyContin, I think, was the most significant relaxation of narcotics restrictions in the history of the CSA. And the story of Purdue Pharmaceuticals, how they were able to not have their Schedule II substance black boxed, warning labeled, I think was the most significant relaxation. It killed hundreds of thousands of people, unlike weed.
Well, as we know, I mean, that's kind of like how we were here in a situation where like how laws are made. It's made with deep pockets and people who know how to do the paperwork, right? Like the fact that we're at the part where we're now with rescheduling is monumentous when it comes to like legislation and process, right? As someone who's been trying to figure out how to free all the prisoners and get this shit done with and have parity with, like, again, I go to the store, I buy an ounce of Obama Kush and walked out and no care, like there was no
high quality product, good prices, convenience, nice selection. Not sure if we'll have that at our dispensary, but hopefully we'll have a location for our dispensary in the next month.
Well, right now it's all territorial politics, right? It's all territorial business when it comes to like my state, your state, the state I'll be doing businesses. I want to be crying. I am feeling guilty to tell people that they have to charge $80 for an eighth. Like I know that's just
they don't. It'll be cheaper than that. But out the door, it might be close to $80 because of the amount of taxes on it.
That's what I'm saying. It's still bad.
Yes, but like we're gonna be one of the low price leaders, and so price
hope so.
compression starts at our dispensary because then we want additional production to come online. Washington State has one of the highest tax rates for adult use cannabis in the country, but your prices are still really good. How much was your ounce of Obama Kush?
Oh shit, dude! This was, if I remember correctly, it was 140. So
$140 for an ounce out the door.
yeah, outdoor,
All taxes paid,
$5 tip because
and you tipped.
Yeah,
Nice.
and like you said, it's good quality bud. Like I opened the jar, it's a good sniff. Gives me reminiscent notes of like childhood. But it should be like this everywhere, right? Right now, how people are getting their weed is Delta 8, Delta 9 loophole. People willing to take that chance, and people fearing the hemp shit is wrong. Like, it's gonna make a baby.
Right.
In the
And
law.
so that's the thing. Like Schedule 3 means medical marijuana is coming nationwide. So all that Delta 8 and that THCA stuff that you think that you need so that you can actually buy weed, no, you don't. You need nationwide Schedule 3 medical cannabis.
Yeah, and it'll be quality because even though I see on the social medias where people like, oh, growers, you know, we follow a lot of growers and whatnot, and people in traditional markets in their state are always like, look at this shitty weed bought at the store that's a rec store, and maybe it has mold, maybe it has spider webs, maybe something bad production wise. But here's the thing: in a regulated market, I have someone to complain to. I have a course of action. In a traditional black market, you know, that's it, buddy. I mean, you got a bad reputation, right? Like, there's no recourse for the consumer, and that's another part of regulation. Is like, it's just better in the end for the consumer, more informative, you know?
Right. You know, back to our lead story. It wasn't just the former DEA heads that did that one letter that we shared with you, which was an actual public comment, and you should put yours in too. You can't request the hearing anymore, but that's all right. I don't think you would have had standing to get it. I don't think these guys do either, but
No,
they may still get it anyway. A former attorney general got in on the mix, and that is Bill Barr, and he's backing a prohibitionist group urging the DEA to delay marijuana rescheduling. Guessed what prohibitionist group that is?
it can't be smart. Maybe it's dumb.
Nope, it is. It is Smart Approaches to Marijuana. Sam, they're also requesting an additional 30 days. Deleterious. What is the like just a dawdle and delay that ends in OUS? Okay, fine. Yeah, a delay tactic for Sam to try to run out the clock and see if Donald Trump can win, so that he would say, "We're going to stop all this shit, and we're not going to reschedule."
Fucking nuts. And this is how politics happen when there is one side that has an agenda, right? The whole Project 2025, getting rid of schedule. These are things that help everybody, citizen-wise. And why is it that these people pull your bootstraps up, whatever, want to stop this progress? Because this is going to come from...
Because they get paid every time you get arrested, bro. Do you think that prisons don't have a profit motive?
Well, I don't get how this one party just wraps their around controlling people, right? Like, this is about freedom. This is about options. Because not just fucking last month, the other attorney, AG, Jeff Sessions, was like, "This is a bad idea."
But Jeff Sessions has said good people don't use marijuana. So like, that's fine. If Jeff Sessions wants to like judge me as a bad person, cool. You know, whatever. I'm well-rounded enough to not give a shit about what Jeff Sessions thinks about me. And I hope that you are too. And if you're joining us, there's a good likelihood you also don't give a shit about what Jeff Sessions thinks about you, because you're using weed. And
you're here with us. I mean, it's in your behoovement, in your behavior. This is not the sexy part of legalization, right? This is that lawyer lady that you just identified with being in the backbone of legislation. Like, these firms are the ones that are helping create policy, right? Like the Farm Bill coming up is all about policy. These are things that affect people who are in the business. Whereas if you just want your weed, you're going to find a guy, right? You're going to find it, and none of this shit's going to matter to you no matter what. But if you can go to Walgreens or Walgreenies, you know, whatever new fucking pot shops out there,
if
in
you can
Tennessee,
take the stigma away from it and make it not a taboo thing that people think they want to do because you tell them you can't do it.
Yeah.
But here we don't tell you that. Here we say, oh, it's 20 past the hour, which means it's 4:20 somewhere. We'll be right back after this short commercial break. I was updating the Collateral-based website, and we will have a rebrand of that. You guys can check that out over at collateralbase.com. Miggy, why don't we bring out our guest? Can you introduce him?
Yes, we have a guest, Travis Collins. He is a store owner in Minnesota, right? But also he's advocating for prisoners. He's worked with Freedom Grow, and you're out there in DC right now in this moment, driving a bus, a van. Yeah, that looks like. I mean, like here, I got your. If you could get my share screen out there.
Nice.
I got your.
So hot out. If I don't have to get out, that's better.
Let me see.
Oh, good.
There you go. No, this is your van right here. So this is what you're driving around, like helping people. Oh, I keep clicking on the wrong window. But pretty cool. Like you're out there in DC.
Parker Coleman.
Yeah.
Ismail Lira. Yeah, it feels good to do something. You know, it feels good to be part of society.
That's right. You were locked up too.
Yeah, I did 8 years when I was 21 for cannabis. I spent 21 to 30. I got caught trafficking 700 pounds from California to Minnesota. Well, my driver got caught and he turned it all.
You know what's messed up? You're over the line in Illinois. So like Miggy and I were able to win a dispensary there because he qualified for our definition of social equity. He would also qualify in Minnesota, but you would not qualify in Illinois for that arrest, and that because it was too much. You went too hard. Yeah,
nuts,
which of course makes no sense. That's my only gripe that I really have. I'm like, wait a minute. So you want them to be impacted by their cannabis arrest, but just a little bit. You know, if they're really impacted by their cannabis arrest and they go to prison, that's too much for you. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, I'm grateful to be in Minnesota. I've learned a lot to appreciate Minnesota politicians in the politics that we have up there. We were a little late getting into the rec market, but I believe the way we got into it and the people that were behind the bill, the legislators, I think they did it right.
Yeah, you guys, it is the exception again. And I told him this when I saw him up in Minnesota earlier this year, about 3 months ago. I said, it ain't a loophole if you codify it. And so Minnesota got into the low THC hemp licensed, unlike all these other states, markets. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about Freedom Soda and what you're doing with, because you're on a real license in Minnesota, right?
Yeah. I have a low dose edible license and it's a good feeling. Yeah. Freedom Soda. So Minnesota said if you're 10 milligrams under for every serving, you can create products basically. So it just went gangbusters in Minnesota. And actually our hemp low dose edible model of what they created is going so well in Minnesota. It's probably going to go national, I would imagine, once all this
I think they need to catch. And so like, that's the thing. You just can't say it's THCA, which is weed. And then that it's hemp, which it's still not. I mean, like you're making Delta 8. The reason why Delta 8 wasn't in the total THC is because the plant don't make it. Yeah. And so they're regulating the plant and it's growing. And so it's the USDA, it's not the FDA. So they're saying, hey, you're growing that? All right, well, we can't test for this Delta 8. And they just ran with it. But with Minnesota, they said, okay, here's an edible at this milligram with this license. You can have it.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then you go to South Carolina. I was just in Charleston, South Carolina. You can buy a 200 milligram gummy that will send you straight to the hospital. And these are like strict weirdos with their laws on cannabis. And it's like, you guys just don't have a clue what's going on.
Damn.
That's right. That's right. They exploited the loophole for all they can. And then it's like, guys, you hate weed. Like, it's South Carolina. Like, we know you hate weed. Nancy Mace is the only one here that likes weed. And then you still have like this hemp loophole that comes in, and because the edibles, I mean, like this is a beverage, but it's like a 16-ounce beverage. There could be like a gram and like a third in this, and it would be considered hemp under the current definition. And so but then they got to regulate the hemp cannabinoids. And so I think what's going to happen with the Schedule 3 and then the prohibition on hemp or whatever they're going to do with the Farm Bill or the Appropriations Bill, they're going to like hook it all in. It's like, okay, like this is hemp. You're growing it for this lane over here.
Yeah.
This is not intended for human consumption. This is like for bird food, industry, clothing, like, you know, hemp. And then everything else that's going to be intended for human consumption. I hope that there is a DEA approved low dose hemp THC license that they can get. That in theory regulates the plant uniformly.
Well, I think what they'll do is they'll look at your state, perhaps, you know, states who are doing this, like are trying to, because in Washington State, we have only one market, but they have hemp laws. But for you guys actually having a hemp consumption, you know, I think there's a way that you are ahead of the game, dude. I didn't realize that you had a low THC service down there, where you're at. I didn't know you were part of it. I thought you just owned like a vape shop.
Yeah, it was amazing what happened. So I got out of prison in 2013. I started a granite countertop business, self business, basically having a felony and not being able to get a job. I had to do that. And then I saw in the paper that they were selling gummies at the state fair, and I'm a big weed smoker. And I was like, well, it's legal again. And this is what I love. And I threw my hat in. And then the second I started making money, I automatically remembered all my brothers and sisters inside federal prison still, you know, because I went to federal prison for 8 years.
Damn.
And that's kind of like what's important. We're not remembered in this life for our triumphs financially. We're remembered for what we do to help others in positive ways and what positive impacts we can have. So that's what this has turned into for me.
Well, is that also your activism? Because you are in a van down by Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., trying to get other people that are locked up for this plant out.
Yeah.
Have you been meeting with any legislatures, or what's the boots on the ground that's happening with your activism over in Washington, D.C.?
Well, yeah, it's just amazing. So back to Minnesota, and the Democrat legislators there passed a very significant bill. And then they brought me, I was able to like meet them and talk with them. So they're very supportive of me at home. And they, you know, I get references to like Ilhan Omar. And then I met with Senator Amy Klobuchar's office, and they know that cannabis policy is good for politics. And the Democrats from Minnesota are very honest, and they're willing to listen to me. So, and they see that I'm trying to be like proactive and I can raise this issue because I walk the walk. You know, I was in federal prison at Terre Haute, Indiana for a long time.
Damn.
And like, I just seen it all. And it's like, there's not a lot they can tell me about the federal system at all, especially cannabis. So
Terre Haute's no joke, by the way. Like for people who are listening, that's where Craig Cecil was at for like 20 years and shit. Like that was, he had diabetes. They weren't going to give him medicine, all kinds of issues, dude.
It's terrible. And they're only treating the inmates inside worse because of COVID, and the funding's down on the BOP. When I went in the BOP, Bureau of Prisons, I'm referring to, when I went in the Bureau of Prisons in 2004, it was like kind of pristine still. They were coming off the tough on crime 90 years, and they still had a lot of funding. And now the guys are, it's pretty bad. And it's just in another verse, when I went in 2004 is when I went and got arrested with my cannabis. That's when I was big in the industry. Black market, we were bringing it down from Canada, bringing it from California to Minnesota. We were doing all that stuff. The legal industry was just not even a thought. So now I haven't been involved in this. I've been smoking my weed. I'm not trying to get involved in conspiracies, and the price on cannabis is so down compared to when I went. So I haven't been bothering with it. But now that I see this legal industry, it just breaks my heart knowing what I went through is going on with somebody else, and we have an opportunity to get them out, because America's built on capitalism, and there's no way these politicians can deny the size of the industry and the money, the tax revenue we're making, and keeping these people still in prison. Black, white, brown, all of us. I got a list of guys on here, life sentences, everyone. And it's like,
it's so political. Like I
love
did a video about it's, but then you got Ron DeSantis leading over there in Florida, and he hates weed so much, he'll veto hemp, which is the same stuff, to make them vote against the legalization of weed. So then he could probably ban it. Like if if legalizing weed was not on the ballot in Florida this year, he would not have vetoed that hemp ban. This was just the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And so instead of like regulating the stuff, how Minnesota started, but now actually Minnesota has some news that's going to be kicking off tomorrow. The Office of Cannabis Management is going to open the social equity verification process tomorrow on the 24th. Travis, I hope you're filling out that paperwork.
That was easy.
If you need any help, like give us a call.
Oh, that was easy. It was easy finding
Good.
that case. When you go to federal prison for 8 years, they got a record of it. I had a very clean marijuana case. I caught another marijuana case in Idaho, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, but I only did 90 days on that. We're not even going to mention that. You know?
Wait. Well, let's mention it for a minute. Did you get popped in Idaho or Wyoming?
Wyoming.
Idaho, bro.
Oh,
so
okay.
I got into the CBD in 2020 with my same business partner, but we stopped. We got a long relationship of trying to make it, and there's no money in CBD. It's very, very tough business.
That's why they made Delta 8. Duh. Made the Delta 8. They made the cannabinoids get you high because there's no money in CBD.
No, so I started in going to Oregon.
Ever. And like anymore has nothing to do with it. Like it was all hype, and then people got the supply, and they're like, eh.
Yeah, but don't you guys remember terrible. Like there was like scams like early on, like back when my hair was black. Like Cavagold, I think was one of them, or Canna something. Like, there was all these like, it's CBD, it's not weed, it's gonna get you not high. And then people were buying this shit up, not realizing that the plant itself, right? I think this plant, when it comes to like the ignorance of people in the wellness situation, right? Like even though there's always this like we need more studies bullshit, but it really should be up to the person to consume this plant and be like, yeah, I don't like how that makes me feel, or makes me feel a lot better. I think I can, there's this.
Oh yeah. Morally, so, and that's the whole deschedule, reschedule conversation. And I totally agree with you that it should be growing in the yard and given away. But while we touch on that, I gotta say, this is the first time in 54 years that we've had any federal legislation changed on the actual laws of cannabis. So we need to kind of give it to the people that are doing that for us and try to follow up. And then on the THCA, I got an interesting thing I learned in Washington inside the Capitol talking to one of the aides. Mitch McConnell owns a huge hemp farm in Kentucky. Like I heard he's making money, and I heard that from somebody that's in the know. So I don't think we're going to be seeing any federal bans on any of that stuff anytime soon, just judging from politics, because cannabis is a politic issue with enforcement. It's all politics now.
It's not a ban. Again, like I said, you should have this DEA like license there that's cleaned it up and approved it. And so if you just take his operations and then you bless it through the system, so there's no loophole. Like I said, like there's no loophole if you codify it. So you kind of do Minnesota, but like nationwide. He's fine. He's going to be making that money. Mitch will be fine with that.
He'll be making money no matter what. Yeah.
If he would let the people out of prison, I wouldn't think he's a complete scumbag, But
well, that's the double standard of it all. That's one of the reasons why I get pissed off at the hemp people, because I'm like, but it's not legalizing it. Like the hemp, especially like the Delta 9 and the loophole, the THCA, that version, if that's what you believe the law is, which I don't, but some people do. Like that is like so absurd and like terrible, because it says it's a defense to the cops like arresting you unless they catch you doing it. And then it's a complete crime. And so, or like you like leave it in the car, like the sun, or just denatures, and like it goes over the line and it's hot. Or like our next story out of Colorado, for example, Colorado sues business that allegedly market marijuana as hemp. And this is your attorney general. Yeah, and this is out of like this week in Colorado. The attorney general is suing hemp companies, saying like, hey, you knew that wasn't hemp. You knew that was weed. You just said it was hemp, so you didn't have to play by the rules.
Yeah. That's all cop stuff. I'm not ever going to get involved in any of that. I just wish
like you guys were saying, though, I mean, the importance of rescheduling it, like descheduling it is the end game for all of us, right? Like,
yes.
As activists, as consumers, right? We all have the same, I would hope, belief and faith. But here's something here. I'm going to share with you guys a story here. So I'm a Reddit troll. I've been on, social web medias, whatever, but there's this one post that caught my attention, and it's on the marijuana page. And it's this woman, she's like driving on the first day of vacation from San Antonio to Houston. We were pulled over by a canine. My husband had 17 grams in total, Moon Rock, in Guadalupe County. She did jail. She spent 6 months right away.
Oh, it's
Boom.
terrible.
You know, and then her husband's still facing the case. And so,
Oh.
like, the fact is, rescheduling would help these people, right?
But
Because this would never been a situation.
Fuckload of hemp shops. There's a fuckload of hemp shops in
Yeah,
Texas.
it's a label game. Should have had the
And so,
right
like,
label.
That's why I don't like the hemp loophole bullshit. I'm like, you haven't given these people a legal defense.
Yes.
You have all you have done is, like, what do they call that? Like, entrapment. That's all you've done. You've said, hey, look, this is fucking legal. Go buy it. Oh, you tried to use it? Well, that's a crime.
Well,
What the fuck is that? You know?
let's not forget that medical cannabis is still not like in your state.
Subterfuge.
It seems like
Yeah.
it seems like the hemp is the Republicans' way of making money off cannabis, and they're going to lock us up still because they're. I wouldn't even bother talking to them. I wish they would talk to us about clemency, but they don't. And then the Democrats are trying to legalize it through like real recreational marijuana. And then they're trying to fight. I don't know if they're trying to fight the hemp, but not really, because Democrats don't have the appetite to shut down the farming. So, you know, it's just like, and the Republicans fight a lot nastier from what I'm learning.
It seems.
Well, they don't believe in facts, but we do. And that's why we're going to actually play some Name That Strain, because this plant has parents, by the way. This one is actually not
Sour diesel.
It is
Do I
not.
get to guess?
It is, yes. And so, like, we're going to help because we like to give some hints. We like to tell its parents about it, and, like, you know, kind of like the effects, the flavors. This one is a CBD dominant strain, a crossing of MK Ultra, which is a reference to some 1960s shit, and G13 Haze, which is a reference to some movie from 1999 called American Beauty. And it's supposed to produce a relatively short-lived mellow high that is uplifting and relaxing. Medical cannabis patients choose this strain to treat pain, muscle spasms, anxiety, and migraines. And because it is a mostly CBD dominant strain, they usually, like hemp, before it was just weed called hemp, had like slightly earthy smells to it.
You know, before American Dream, you know, I think this was like a legacy. The G13 thing, the mother strain.
AC/DC?
Nope, not close.
AC/DC is a classic hemp strain. AC/DC is a classic hemp strain. Like, again, like before hemp was just weed and like whatever. And so, like, the THCA flower, I'm like, I never remember any of them seeds back when I did some hemp work. It is not Sherblotto. But MK Ultra and G13, I'm not sure who its breeder is. I don't have that in the description. Maybe
Super Silver Haze.
No, it's
Charlotte's Web.
It's closer to that, but it's still not that. No.
The name implies that you want to like be knocked out.
Right. It is a play on the word, but yeah, I can't even say the word. If I say the word that it's a play on, you give it away, right? But it kind of means to be like, you know, out of it, zonked out, you know, really zoned.
There we go. Black Forest Garden.
Black Forest Gardens. Shout out to you.
Nice.
Yes, and that's it. It's got a little bit of both, and so, like, I think the medicinal strains, they don't get enough of their due, but like a 1-to-1, kind of like a THC and CBD that are pretty balanced. This one has about a 2-to-1, so 9% CBD, 4% THC. That would still produce a really good effect. That's when I think CBD actually matters, when it's blended with THC. But you need more THC than you're allowed to have, and that's why the CBD flower is that good, you know?
Totally.
Well, we have CBD flowers in our market. It's one of our SKUs. So, like, I'll purposely buy an infused joint with CBD, you know, rosin.
I just love the name CBD. So back to Idaho, that's what I said I had. I got pulled over. I was like, I got CBD, and you know, they didn't really go for it.
They were like, whatever. Well, I've never heard of that strain. I said spread them.
But this goes back to the defense thing, right? Because now cops are still looking for it, right? Like you can still tell them it's hemp, but they don't care because you got to prove it. They don't.
Yeah, it's all, it's just all bad. You got to mail it. That's your best shot at not going to jail. No, I hate to say it. If you're gonna
From
do
your
it,
state, and all the
Yeah,
people
get
in your
somebody-
state.
Anyway, like the post office has, Fourth Amendment protections. UPS,
Yeah.
FedEx, they ain't got shit. They're private. And so,
Yeah.
if you want your government actors delivering your package that you care about, by the way, you're going to want some Fourth Amendment protection on that package.
There you go.
Of course, you're
Just
not
keep
allowed
it
to
small.
mail weed. Correct. It's and then coffee makes a wonderful gift.
yeah. There's
They're still.
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, go ahead, Miggy.
I was going to say they're still busting people in recreational states, like the New Mexico border thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
they're still as long if once it becomes rescheduled, if it does, which I hope it happens within this year, the world will be a better place for the cannabis consumer and even for people in the industry. Overall, that's all. I just there'll be some pathway for people not to get fucked with because, like with medical, it's only an affirmative defense. It's not an actual it's the law.
Well,
Right,
man,
it's
medical gets you busted. Those people that
Yeah.
get caught with medical weed in non-medical states, I got a medical card. That's the worst thing you can say to a police officer in a non-medical state. It's like, yeah, it's a trick.
They don't care, and that's the
No,
thing.
well, they're going to
Why I
search you
love
now.
Schedule 3 so
Yes.
much, because now we have nationwide medical cannabis.
Yeah.
Just
I like
everybody
it.
who's got a hard on for hemp, and I'm sorry if you do. Just kind of consider that for a minute. Oh my gosh, you might not be able to do that stuff you're doing in Tennessee right now. Yeah, but you're going to be able to do this, at least what you're doing in Tennessee. But now you're going to have legal protections in case they fuck with you.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have,
Yeah.
and so lawyers like me, because I sue motherfuckers that I think are going over the line. And I can't wait to sue those motherfuckers because usually it's rich people trying to exploit social equity guys.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan.
Yeah.
Of that. And so, but now if it's federally legal and you have states that are just holding out and continuing to arrest, well, let's get creative and figure out how we can, short circuit that and make sure that those court cases are thrown out, or the people that are sitting in prison get out.
That's what we need to do. That's what the cannabis everybody, if you're selling cannabis, if you want to store it legally, you need to say right now, okay, we got Schedule 3. That was great. I mean, it might not be great, but this is all they're giving us. Biden they're strict.
Yeah.
I don't know. He looks
You
at
need
it differently.
Congress. You need Congress. That's the thing. Biden had the way that the Congress wrote this fucking law that he's doing, and so and they wrote into it international law from 1970, back when we gave a fuck about what the international law said, I guess. And so they put that international law into our own laws. So for us to follow our laws, we have to follow the international law, or Congress can do its job and change the law, but they don't care.
Yeah, we got the Trump card though, so they're so concerned about Trump winning, the Democrats are, that to play the angle for my inmates right now, all of our inmates inside for cannabis, there's about 3,000 people. It's that's what this needs to be about. We're going to be fighting about marijuana laws for years to come. They say this all the time in Minnesota. Liquor's been legal 120 years or however 50 years or whatever, and we're still changing the law. So it's
That's
right now the immediate problem is the people in prison, because their years are still just going away.
Mm-hmm.
I love your energy with that, but the problem is it needs more advocates. Like this is Democrat, Republican to wipe their ass with fucking marijuana legalization. They don't care because it doesn't affect their constituents. But when it comes to these individuals locked up, right, there has to be organizations advocating for them because there's no like with Frank Rogers. It just occurred to me the other day. It's because he got locked up in New York when he got arrested. It's why don't you ask your governor who's promoting her cannabis legalization bill to help you get Biden's attention, right? Because that's what you need to do in this administration process. It takes forever to be recognized, right? That's why the Justice Act happened. When I saw all these names get signed that I recognized, is because of people like Clemency and Freedom Grow, who at this is where I got this hat at events. We would get signatures and get people's names and then send that packet to the White House. That way, some scrub has to receive all that. still a human process to this thing.
Oh yeah.
To get
Did
these.
you see what Westmore did this past week?
No.
Yep. Maryland.
175,000.
Oh yeah, Maryland.
Pardons. Yeah, I think the Freedom Grows can do Last Prisoner Project, all these people, 40 tons, all these organizations have got us to the point. I think this signal by the administration to Schedule 3 is just so huge that if things work out right, because politics, this is politics, and they are talking about in a lot of big newspaper articles that cannabis vote is about the youth. And I can see the administration and the people here in Washington, D.C. love that I'm talking about a domestic issue. This is a great domestic issue for the administration. So I don't know what's going to happen in 6 months after the election. I'm concerned about these 6 months right now before the election. And that's, we have positive things to build off of. The Schedule 3 is a positive thing for the people in prison.
100%. Yeah.
Let's see what else we got positive to build off of. There's some North Carolina news, but let's go to the federal news though. This came out this week. The Federal Congressional Research Service puts out press releases, and this one came out on June 17th.
That's my
and they explain that now, like, here's how Farm Bill is working, and here's how that's regulated, and here's the House Agriculture's Farm Bill for 2024, and hemp is going to change, and how they've said they want to change it. And then here's the subcommittee for financial year. That's what FY 2025, which, by the way, is approaching. I know you think 2025 is, about half a year away, but the federal government, 2025 is 3 months away. They have a different budget year. Yeah. And so House Appropriations, this is for the change of the definition federally to say that hemp, it's the most like government bullshit thing you've ever read. And it's just so appropriate for like the cannabis industry. And so like it does not change the definition of hemp. It makes exceptions to the definition that hasn't changed.
Like
I would say there's a lot of people with a lot of money hoping that fails.
There's a lot of people with a lot of money hoping it passes. Maybe Mitch McConnell, maybe not. And so that's one of those things where the people that have been putting these out are in Mitch McConnell's party.
Yeah.
But again, it's not a red blue issue, right? If you make it political, no matter what, this is an American issue, right? Like, and we have 50 different industries right now. Some are still traditional market, some are recreational and regulated, some are just medical, but we got 50 little fiefdoms, and until we get some uniformity, there's not everybody. Marijuana and hemp is the goddamn same plant, and it's going to happen no matter what, whether you like it or not. Consumers going to pull the wool over your eyes. It's not one party or not. It's just the bullshit language that people are gaslighting you with most of the time, right? Like, it's not, it's the danger of like why we had Vapegate, where people were like, we don't know because they're all buying illegal stuff when it turned out to be a component in the vitamin E acetate, right? Like, if you don't have checks and balances in your market, you're enabling bad shit into your market, right? And then more things can be traceable. Accountability type shit.
Yeah.
It's interesting. In the red state are like, South Carolina, for example, it's a red, super straight, strict straight. You go to jail forever, and they got the worst products on their shelves. It's just doesn't make any sense.
It's like the entrapment. That's what they know, and they want you to get caught with it.
Yeah.
Or they don't really know what's going on, and I don't understand.
Well, it empowers bad policy, right? The more you keep this individual until there's one blatant way to like, because like you in your state, right? Like you decide to go into this low hemp licensing product, and it's working well for you. It's great. Like that's cool. And eventually, other people in other states, like in Tennessee, Kentucky, I can like just Alabama, and I hate to use these as like the ding 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 type mentality, but that's how your policies, your peoples are. Ohio gets a bad rep because of Jim Jordan. If you ever see that guy speak, like there's some blankets of stupid out there. You're like, how are these people in charge? But I know people who live there are good people. So, I think it's not everybody gets on vote.
The world's ran by people that show up.
Yeah,
know?
exactly it, man. And again, the scheduling comment period. Who's got harms? You know who's really going to be able to qualify for a hearing? Right? You know, we're on
Hearing
your body.
period's done. Like
Yeah.
you didn't get, if you didn't request a hearing, it's too late. But that's okay. Even if you did, you may not have had standing to get one. And so now we'll see if there's going to be a hearing or not. I hope that they close, because now, like, the Biden administration should be playing the shot clock of, oh crap, are we out of here on January 20th? And so if, provided that they publish the final rule before January 20th, the Trump administration that comes in has to undo the whole thing. They have to do the press release where it's like, that was stupid what he did. I signed this and I said, that's going to put it back. We're putting it back to Schedule 2 or like whatever. Like, yeah.
Yeah. I think if they let enough people out of prison and get enough good headlines, they can win the election. I truly believe it. I think that's what Biden and the rest of the Democrats have at stake. They're sick of the attack on the young people. And that's what putting people in prison for cannabis. And we have a lot of really good cases. You know, Edwin Rubis, Parker Coleman, Mission Green works on a lot of great stuff. Weldon Gonzalez, I know he's in touch. You know, and it's just like when you see guys that been in prison dealing with the White House, there's hope. There's hope.
Yeah.
When you don't have somebody that's been in prison, it gets a little weird.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the problem, guys, is also though, like the argument you're talking about the youth, right? That's been a long argument since I had hair. You know what I mean? Like, it's not about the youth no more, man. It's about just
I'm old too.
Individuals and people. It's a you know, the layers of decades of this bad law being in effect and who can go for it. Racism is, it's all part of the origin story, right? But how do we end this? And that's by showing up to vote blue right now.
And it starts, I think, in like Minnesota. So I would never be doing any of my activism if they didn't pass social equity. And I didn't know the people in charge were behind my movement as long as it was peaceful. And, you know, I was doing activism. I just came up with all this stuff off of paying it forward from how I was treated, because the system kicked me so hard. I never thought social equity. I never even heard of that stuff before. So I'm like, this is great. I think the people that have been harmed the worst are going to end up coming forward and trying to help the others that have been harmed and trying to fix this and tell society it's okay. And this is just one of the harms. I'm in Washington, D.C. right now. We got a lot of racism in this country. All right. I hate to say it, but we got to address it. And a lot of that's through our drug policies that incarcerate people. And it's just like, I'm not with any of that stuff. It's just not the way to be. And our drug policies and cannabis policies are traced to that. And, you know, you got older white guys making the rules. Hey,
no, for real.
And they're enforced that way. We have a lot of data.
Yeah.
The data shows like the selective enforcement. And you're like, okay, so you're selectively enforcing this. You're infringing on people's rights. You're taking their shit. You're throwing them in a hole for years on our dime. And you let fentanyl, and not only fentanyl, and then Purdue Pharmaceuticals gets to kill hundreds of thousands of people.
Here's the thing about fentanyl too, because fentanyl's so new, they didn't schedule it as hard as they did the drugs back in the day. So it's like fentanyl's not even as strict as cannabis is. Like, you know what I mean? It's a joke. The federal system's a joke. They should abolish the whole federal drug laws and leave it to the states, because they missed and they need a lot of help.
Well, that's where we're at now with the states. You know, that's how we got to where we're at, because the states have been doing this experiment. You know, and that, like I said, the whole youth thing, right? It's the youth that got us to where we're at. Prop 215, and when you know, the homosexual community with the AIDS epidemic, you know, there's different things that have tumbled this thing forward, and rescheduling it can help complete that. But we're so close. Just I wish the other 70 million dum-dums out there would fix. You know, just come over here.
It's happening. We're winning the war. We're winning the war on cannabis legalization. We're winning.
Our next story kind of like highlights that. North Carolina Senate approves medical marijuana legalization.
It's because the tribe opened up.
You don't know about that, but they have tried previously to get this going, and then 9 Republicans joined, which I guess would be 24 Democrats, and their 33-9 vote. Voting in favor of the bill, and the bill is scheduled for a second Senate vote on Monday. When North Carolina gets to being close to legalizing medical cannabis, I mean, Kentucky, arguably more liberal than Tennessee.
Well,
They've now maybe I'm not sure, but Kentucky has a round that's opening in about a week, and so the medical cannabis program in Kentucky is just rolling right along.
Yeah.
The South is starting to break, at least for medical. And then if you have Schedule 3 nationwide, I think we can just bring that down like a vice against these 12 states that are just holding out. Like even Idaho, even all the eyes, the terrible eyes. Idaho, Iowa, Indiana, Wisconsin for some reason.
Well, to Travis's point, it says tribal influence. The bill comes as a Native American tribe, already the first and only seller of medical cannabis in the state, lays open sales to a 21 over. The East Band of Cherokee Indians voted to legalize it on its Qualla boundary last year. So yeah, man, I mean and they launched on 420. So competition, here in Washington State, before we got the rec law in place, they actually negotiated with the tribes. They had like a treaty, like please don't outsell us, don't undersell the taxes, because they knew they were going to tax the shit out of this, right? Like this is not fair. State by state, it's all getting fucked individually. Somebody corrected me earlier. They said 51. 51 items, including our nation's capital, right? So like, just different markets,
territories. There's territories, but we have a story out of Missouri as well. Interstate traffic, kind of. So the Missouri has this store near the Arkansas border, and they're making a crap load of money, and so now Flora Farms State Line Dispensary is getting a shakedown. A little bit of a shakedown from the Missouri side. Its closest city, Jane, Missouri, and the major city that's closest is Joplin, Missouri. And then there's a web of rapidly growing cities within a 20 to 30 minute drive on the Arkansas side, which this is how business is currently in the cannabis sector. And so like in real estate in Missouri, Illinois used to suck Missouri's, commerce up from the border when it was medical, but now it's the other way because Missouri has cheaper weed and lower taxes, and so like you'll see people from Illinois going to Missouri if they live in that area. But then they're in Arkansas, which has a medical program, but it's very restrictive, and so all the people in Arkansas are driving to Missouri. This is an interstate market. One state at a time. I mean, like that's the problem though. It's an interstate market, one state at a time, and so like even in Washington State, you can put your dispensary on the border of Idaho and you'll do all right. Like we can put our dispensary on the border of Iowa and do just fine.
I got to say, that is one of the biggest changes of culture from Spokane, Washington to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. It's like you can do whatever you want right at the border at the city of Spokane. And then there's another city called Coeur d'Alene where you're going to go to jail for a long time.
Coeur d'Alene also had like militias and shit there training.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting place. That's where I went to jail. Yeah.
Did you?
Oh, you got militias and shit. Like we are here fighting for your freedom. Then can you let me out of my cell? No, you were caught with a joint. It's like, then how am I free? God, these damn druggers, they don't get it. But it reminds me of one of the reasons why we had the shit I wasn't expecting segment, because cannabis is just a nonstop, like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. And so we have some stories like that,
Civil forfeiture.
Yeah. Stand against civil forfeiture. The civil forfeiture one we get. The only one is more along the lines of.
Your mic's kind of going out.
For one, you've seen that coming.
Now you're
the Philly Glass Company makes bongs, gets into liquor business with new vodka. And so a company was not doing enough shit selling their bongs, and so now they make liquor.
Man down, we lost Travis, but he was on our mobile phone. But yeah, so these guys here, share my screen if you can. These guys made this bong, bottle of vodka. That's the picture right there, baby. I would buy one. I would. I don't know.
Where am I supposed to put the carb? That's my question. Like, how does this bottle of vodka turn into a bong? I can see how I need to like put the carb somewhere.
Yeah, no, maybe it's just for art. Well, there's plenty of fucking people that do stuff at home. Like, I mean, there's so many people making bongs on Reddit already that out of bongs that no, man, it's I would buy it just to see.
Heck yeah.
But shit, we weren't expecting. We lost you for a second. We saw Travis.
Yeah, it's DC.
Are you going to be petitioning at all this week, or when do you leave DC?
I love it. I'm just going to tell them that they're great and let the people out of prison. Then you'll be more great. That's all I want to say to them. We're shocked. Like, my guys in prison are like so excited because we have a real law. And even after it goes through, let's say it goes through quick, then if they don't let everybody out, then we have somebody in court. But it'll be very disappointing if we don't get clemency before the election. I'll be extremely disappointed personally.
Yeah, and I would, like, again, what I think, it's about the votes, duh. And so what I think you're going to have before the election is you're going to have a rule, and then you're also going to have a clemency type of grant that would force this issue, where it's like, do you want this policy to continue, or do you want to see this policy walk back? Because if they force the issue, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer. I remember during the Obama years, right? We used to think like, "Oh, this is it."
Yeah.
But the thing is, you being a president's fucking world geopolitics. There's
he dropped the ball.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was definitely a lot that was like a magnifying glass for the first black president, right? Like, I can imagine the pressure and everything, but like, just overall, people think like running America is kind of like running a business, and it's not. It's like the Schedule F thing. The reason why you have people who do jobs as career people is because they have a passion for it, right? Like, for me, it's been measurement, right? That's been my lifeblood and how I can figure out how to like survive. For someone who's 50 and not skinny no more, right? Like I haven't missed a day eating. I do okay, but like I want to do this business thing with Tom. It's the next step, but everybody finds their own thing, and it's why it's important that people don't have this like pressure of like politics bullshit, like to do a thing. The FDA, FCA, they all serve their purpose. Like, even though the FDA is not perfect, right? Listen, how many times I see a commercial where they tell you at the end if it causes anal bleeding, why is that a fucking disclaimer? Why is death a disclaimer?
It's a reported side effect.
I have a theory about all the institutions. It's just like, you learn when you go to federal prison, like, you scream, they put you in a room, you keep screaming, they strap you to a bed, you keep screaming, they shove a tube down your throat and feed you. So it's just like, you can't challenge these institutions. This is America, the greatest country on earth, and we have to embrace it and work with them and try to get it a better place for us and future generations.
100%.
It takes a lot of work, especially considering you have guys like the Veronos out there just terminating contracts left and right. So yeah, let's do a pot stock story, because oh yes. So Verono is trying to get out of an $861 million lawsuit for terminating an agreement to have a merger. And so on June 20, the Verono rejected the damages claims and said it filed a notice of the application that the court would seek a full trial instead of summary determination. And they must be in Canada, because I don't recognize that. Yes, it is. Supreme Court of British Columbia, which is known to be in Canada.
But I mean, it's still court. It's still policy, right? Like, this is going to be argued. Like, there's lawyers just drooling, going, "Oh, I'm going to get a boat this summer," right? like right now, there's so much money to be had.
Not just lawyers. The guys who run Verono are drooling as well, and the guys that wanted to sell them that shit from Verono were also drooling. This was a definitive agreement, which, Miggy, you may get to see one day, and eventually you have to sign certain things. And if I do my job, you're going to see some definitive agreements, Miggy. Anyway, from January 2022, they had a contract to acquire Minneapolis-based Goodness Growth in all stock for $413 million. However, Goodness Growth told Verono that it had Goodness Growth announced that Verono gave them a notice of termination, stating that it believed Verono had no legal basis for doing so. Which, again, if I was Verono's lawyer, and if you want me to help, call. But I would challenge subject matter. Well, of course, it's in Canada, so it's a legal transaction. But who's the regulators? Because can you buy all their shit without regulator approval? And so if it's regulator approval, say original jurisdictions over there, and then see if you can get the complaint dismissed.
That's an argument.
$1,000.
That's an argument of process, right? I mean, this is the whole legal spiegel stuff. No,
It's when you don't have subject matter jurisdiction, it doesn't matter what the court says.
I mean, as far as Verono being subject matter, because I would imagine you're the grow, you're being bought by.
It is a contract to buy cannabis licenses.
Okay.
So we can't sell, and then again, Travis, you win the lottery. This is going to come in handy, man, because you cannot sell that cannabis license. In Minnesota, it's 3 years before the social equity can be changed. It is different though in Illinois. We just have to get operational for our dispensary, and then you can change it. But do you know who has to approve it? The licensing authority has to approve it, and so the court might not have jurisdiction to enforce the contract that Verono terminated in this.
And again, this is rich people money business stuff. I mean,
who owns what dispensaries does Goodness Growth have in Minneapolis? So that doesn't.
I don't know. Like it says, it's Chicago based, and then you're trying to acquire this Goodness Growth, which was a Minneapolis based all stock transaction. Goodness Growth said that I'm not sure who Goodness Growth is, but if they're also in British Columbia, great, because
Green Goods.
Green Goods. Yeah. Is that like, because there's not very many, if any, right?
Yeah, they're getting nervous because the Green Goods in Minnesota, they're going to have competition. You know, they didn't get an MSO.
They don't have much.
Bill.
That's
they've got a few locations.
And so, like, why do you think Verono is like, we're dipping, we outsee 5,000. Yeah. We ain't giving you $413 million worth of shit. We ain't getting shit. You ain't getting shit. I hope you didn't buy that boat, bitch. You know, and that's why you always lease a boat.
Lease the boat
before you buy.
Yeah. Good shit, man.
But buy the plane ticket. The industry, man. That's the industry, because you don't know. And so, like, Verono saw Minnesota legalizing and thinking that they'd get the green, whatever it's called. It's not called green Goodness Growth. It's called Green Growth. Is that what they call them?
Yeah, well, and they lobbied so hard to just do their big business stuff in our bill, and our state legislators didn't let them win, you know? So it's probably just like,
wow,
let's get out of here. Oh, yeah.
I don't know. So Verono was lobbying your guys in Minnesota as well then.
They all want the MS. They all want the Illinois style.
Oh.
Illinois is terrible. And then so I'm like a Democrat because of my Minnesota politicians, but like, how could Democrats let something like that happen in Illinois? I'm like, whoa, you know, I'm spoiled in Minnesota.
Chicago. Okay.
Yeah, we're not like that in Minneapolis. We're very morally sound.
Oh no, Chicago is a very moral place, provided that you have a certain flexibility with your morals and the ability to say yes. Yeah. So did you know that Illinois is essentially just a kind of like a meandering casino? And wherever you go that serves beer, there is a better than 60% chance they also have some slot machines that you could play. There's almost like 50,000 slot machines in the state of Illinois.
Wow.
Bars, like if you're doing a business plan in the state of Illinois and you are going to open a bar and you think that pizza and beer will keep the lights on, no, sir. You need a video gaming area. So, like, one of the things that people tell me to do with the development of the cannabis dispensary is make sure that you put a gaming salon into the adjacent bay if you've got too many square feet. And I'm like, interesting. But that is since 2009 that they legalized video gaming in Illinois, and it creates more money than weed, even though it's been legalized for 10 more years. But I think the state of Illinois collected $250 million in taxes in just December of last year.
Is there
crazy? It's a soulless business.
Well, I mean, business in general is
everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, they have I don't know of a place that I could go to that, like, for a beer and a sandwich that doesn't have them.
That's interesting.
Do they pay out the same day? You know, in like Montana.
Oh, there's another.
You
go to a different
I'm
machine.
A gambler.
You have something. You swipe it. It's pretty much like going. You have a barcode and crap, and so like you would play the slot machine. They'll give you a ticket. You take the ticket over to the thing, and it'll kick you out money.
I just think it's funny how a state will enable something. They'll give a rule like that, like Montana. You can gamble all you want. They have them all over, but you don't get real money. It's the stupidest. Like, why are you going to let these people like play with money, but yet not actually just. It doesn't ask you, dude. What is
The
is there a gaming commission?
like, yes, they blessed it. You don't understand. This is it is a comprehensive statutory rubric that is or scheme, the actual law. Like if you read the Supreme Court cases, they call it a scheme. That is not at common law or equity. And so they vested the Illinois Gaming Commission with jurisdiction to award these video gaming licenses, just like they vested a different jurisdiction to give licenses to Miggy and me, or Minnesota soon to Travis. And yeah, it's a very interesting, like cannabis law is interesting in the terms of jurisdictional aspects as well.
Yeah, it's interesting, and they write it. You know, you got to keep the people in power that write the laws, and it's just interesting how they do it. It's interesting politics, especially for me, because I've always been going to court in the judicial system, and then if you look at things through a political lens, especially with cannabis, because it's always changing, you see things a little differently, and that's what I do now. You know, it's all political, and you just got to figure out what works for you and try to do the right thing at all times by the plant, you know, and that's why I'm in Washington.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a pragmatic thing. It's not, you really can't do idealism too much in politics.
No.
You have to do, what can we do now? What do we have the power to get done today? Like, and so right now, what we have the power to get done is Schedule 3 through executive action. Anything more, we're going to need both parties to come together, and they have to make something, and they just, for whatever reason, can't seem to do it.
And then he follows that up with more executive action of clemency, because the court system and the feds is a joke. Like, none of the guys want to go through that crap. Yeah. And that's what all the organizations that deal with these people and have the keys to the gate that can get their statements out there, you know, the big organizations nationally have to all, and even the cannabis dispensary have to come together and say, Schedule 3 is okay. Thank you. First change in 54 years. Thank you. Let's now get the people out of prison that have been locked up under these racist laws, because that's what we want. We're cannabis people. We care about our society. We don't get drunk at NASCAR rallies and beat each other up.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. And that's also why we're going to need to have the FDA amend the FDCA's rules to give some exceptions to certain provisions that still make the industry illegal, even with Schedule 3. But that's for a different broadcast. Travis, thank you for joining us and shooting the shit with us for the past hour.
Man. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you.
I appreciate what you're doing, and thank you for being in a nation's capital. And then again, you have the personal knowledge that I lack, so you are a much better advocate than me. How can people get in touch with you and find out how they can help support you in a small way by purchasing some of your hemp products?
Yeah, Freedom Soda and Freedom Gummies, and then they'll all be available on the website coming soon. My advocacy work is paid through hustling. I'll never accept donations. I don't want people to try to like control me at all. And I'm just trying to hustle, sell weed, and be a legend, get people out of jail, man. That's all we can do in this life.
Oh, yeah. And then you got a website coming up?
Yeah, freedthc.com. And then Freedom Soda, we're real big in Minnesota already. So we're trying to go national. And then part of the sales, like a big portion of every sale, goes directly to inmates incarcerated. And then they're going to get out. Like Edwin Rubis, he's coming to Minnesota when he gets out. And it's like there's all sorts of people we can help through selling THC products and giving back to them.
Oh, yeah.
Right on. Awesome. Thank you so much. And if you guys are a member, we even put your name in the credits because we appreciate you that much. We'll see you next week with more cannabis legalization news.
You guys are great.